Okay, let's get to our queen lady here. How's it going there, Casanova? Come here, I need a hug. It's been a week. I have a cat that's just started having seizures. So he's over there. He's resting right now. But he was scaring me this morning, but he's unaffected. The girls are freaking out 6 ways to Sunday, but he's fine. He's just ignored. He doesn't bother him at all. Do you want to leave or do you want to stay? You want to stay? Okay. So welcome to the Deluise Book Series channel. I'm Kristina, Kristina, and this is where I read books and talk about books. I'm a series person. I love series. And you're gonna do a 360 on my knee, right? Today we're doing real quick Danse, Macabre by Laurel Hamilton. We are heading into the adult situations of Anita, and it's if you read the first 9 books, those are detective mysteries, sorta. But once you hit Incubus Dreams and Narcissus in Chains, well, Narcissus is first, where we meet Micah Callahan, and then Incubus Dreams, where stuff goes 6 ways. Oh, we go Narcissus, Cerulean, then Incubus. Sorry. All right, so Anita Blake is a vampire executioner. She's also a marshal. She helps she's with the preternatural branch in St. Louis. She's also dating the vampire king, master vampire, head vampire, Jean Claude. She was also dating there for a while Richard, king of the werewolves. She's also has Micah Callahan, king of the leopards, and she is queen of the leopards now, but she doesn't change. She's never actually physically changed, but she holds the lycanthropy in her blood. So she's living with Micah Callahan, and she's living with Nathaniel Grayson. He's also a leopard. And Nathaniel is a homemaker. He likes matching dishes. He likes cooking. He likes cleaning. He's very, very domesticated. And he likes being Anita's wife. I mean, they haven't actually had the ceremony, but in his mind, he is her wife. He's the domesticated one in the household. And so we have Damien, who is another vampire that works for John Claude. He came over for John Claude's protection. Dolph is the police officer. Zabrowski is the cute police officer who's married. And I'm trying to think of the other characters. Just a second. So we have Graham, Claudia, the Dr. Lillian, the werewolf doctor. So we have a lot of characters. So in this, after Incubus, because we have the first 9, and then if you're an Edward fan, read Obsidian. If you're not an Edward fan, skip. And Narcissus, and then Cerulean, and then Incubus. And once you finish Incubus, it's the detectiving is pretty much bye-bye. We're more about the adult situation, the relationship, the taking up most of the book is adult situation and talking about adult situation. So Incubus, Danse, Macabre, and Anita's had she's It's just, oh God. You know, when I can't figure out what to say or I don't want to say and I want you to fill in the blank, I'll be like, it's just. Well, it's just, okay? So, it was the middle of November. I was supposed to be out jogging, but instead I was sitting at my breakfast table talking about men, sex, werewolf, vampires, and that thing that most unmarried but sexually active women fear most of all, a missed period. Veronica Sims' best friend, private detective, sat across from me at a little four-seater breakfast table. The table sat on a little raised alcove in a bay window. I did breakfast most mornings looking at the view out onto the deck and the trees beyond. Today the view wasn't pretty because the inside of my head was too ugly to see. Panic will do that to you. You sure you missed October? You just didn't count wrong? Ronnie asked. I shook my head and stared into my cup. I'm 2 weeks overdue. She reached across the table and patted my hand. 2 weeks, you had me scared. 2 weeks could be anything, Anita. Stress will throw you off that much, and God knows you've had enough stress. She squeezed my hand. The last serial killer was only about 2 weeks ago. She squeezed harder. What I read in the paper and saw in the news was bad. I'd stopped telling Ronnie all my bad stuff years ago when my cases as legal vampire executioner had gotten so much bloodier than her cases as private eye. Now I was a federal marshal along with most of the other legal vampire hunters in the United States. It meant that I had even more access to even more awful shit. Things that Ronnie or any of my female friends didn't want to know. I didn't find fault them. I'd rather not have had that many nightmares in my head. No, I didn't fault Ronnie, but it meant that I couldn't share some of the most awful stuff with her. I was just glad we'd made up a long-standing grumpiness in time to have her here for this particular disaster. I was able to talk about the bad parts of my cases with some of the men in my life, but I couldn't share the missed period with any of them. It concerned one of them entirely too much. She squeezed my hand hard and leaned back. Her gray eyes were all sympathy and apology. She was still feeling guilty that she'd let her issues about commitment and men reign all over our friendship. She had a brief disastrous marriage years before I met her. She'd come here today to cry on my shoulder about the fact that she was moving in with her boyfriend, Louis Fane. Dr. Louis Fane, thank you very much. His doctorate in biology and taught at Washington University. He also turned furry once a month and was a lieutenant of the local Were-Rat Roder, their word for pack. If Louis wasn't hiding what he was from his colleagues, he'd be going to the big party afterwards, she said. He teaches people's kids, Ronnie. He can't afford to find out what they do if they found out he had lycanthropy. College isn't kids, it's definitely grown up. Parents won't see it that way, I said. I looked at her and finally said, are you changing the subject? It's only 2 weeks, Anita, after one of the most violent cases you've ever had. I wouldn't even leave sleep over it. Yeah, but your period is erratic. Mine's not. I've never been 2 weeks late before. She pushed a strand of blonde hair back behind her ear. The new haircut framed her face nicely, but it didn't stay out of her eyes, and she was always pushing it back. Never? What's the latest you've ever been? She asked. 2 days, I think, 5 once, but I wasn't having sex with anyone, so I wasn't scary. I mean, unless there was a star in the east, I was safe, just late. I poured more coffee from the French press, which emptied it. I was so going to need more coffee. Like I said, it gets more personal. And it's just, I can't. It's just, so it's just, just can't figure out what to say. Uh, so they have, oh yeah, I forgot about the order. All right, so it's all about adult situation. It's all about that. It's 100% 500 pages of adult situation. First, she goes through this talk with Ronnie, and then her two housemates come in. So they go through all the men in her life, and she has a few. Now, right now, I shall warn you, in here, okay, right, we have John Claude. Now remember, it took her, what, 7, 8 books and like over 10 years of Laurel writing books for John Claude. And then Richard. Then Micah. Then we added Nathaniel. Oh, actually, we added Jason first. Then we added Nathaniel. So right now we're at John Claude, Richard, Micah, Nathaniel, and the one-time Jason. Oh, and the one-time Damien. So there's 6, technically. We are going to gain a few here. We are going to gain in Harlequin. We are going to gain in the next one. And we are going to gain in the next one. And we are going to gain in the next one. To the point where there's probably about 20. And at some point we will even join the LGBT community and go that route too. So just be warned. So most of this book, or the first part of it anyway, is getting through this pregnancy scare and going through all the stuff with all the men. To the point where even Richard's like, marry me type situation. And then they go to the hospital and they do the ultrasound and the whole 9 yards. And in the meantime, they've got this gangster guy coming to town, Augustine. And it leads to a situation. And to prove their power over Augustine and his peoples, she releases the Ardor. And the Ardor becomes the running storyline forever. Especially in Harlequin or Jade. No, I forget which. Not Bullet. I forget which one. But at some point, it's a whole thing in Las Vegas. I forget which one, but we'll eventually get to it. So, so they go through all the pregnancy stuff, and then they got to deal with Augie, and Augie brings his bodyguards Alliance, and Haven becomes a huge issue. And I think she calls him Cookie Monster because he's blue. His lion is blue. I forget. She calls him Cookie Monster. I like Claudia. She's a good security person. Richard. But this whole thing is just Remus. They gain Remus and Wicked and Truth. We gain those people too. Those become her lovers. But it's just, she really gets into the, I can't find the introduction of the character. Oh, and Clay. Clay's another one. Well, he won't become a lover, but he'll want it. And she goes through some shifting situations, and it's just because it just goes, it goes towards more adult situations than detectiving. They've got to deal with the pregnancy. They got to go to the hospital. They got to deal with the ultrasound. Then they've got to deal with Augustine, and because of the adore, now Augie craves Anita after she uses it on him, and Haven craves it, and it's one large cluster, you know what. So I don't even know if the book, yeah, it's just the adore. There's no extra. And she's got to deal with the vampire politics and Augie. But check it out if you want to. We've got to get to Harlequin, which is Those Who Shall Not Be Named book. But it's good. I will read the series forever because I'm a series person. This is a really good series, and I like to watch the character progression from book to book to book. I'm not too up on the 20 lovers, but yeah, when she does the detective and when she does the police work, it's good. And spoiler alert, there's no wedding for at least 2 books, or 3 books, or 4 books. She's thinking on it. So check it out. Anita Blake, necromancer, vampire controller. She gets to feed off people. Sorry, this wasn't such a good review, but best. Have a good one.